Okay. Hey guys, do you hear me? Theo here, doing a sound check. So Jagadish, is my sound good?
Yep.
Okay, nice to meet you. It's fun how in the last years everything starts with, hey, do you hear me? I think we started this after Skype got acquired by Microsoft.
Yeah.
Before that we trusted the system.
Yes.
Well, thanks for organizing this.
Mm.
I joined from Munich.
Munich. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. We are also going live on a few platforms. I'm not sure. How does it look in other platforms? Welcome, Sunita, Raj, Tanuja, Milad, Andre, and please enter in the chat from where you are joining. So I strongly recommend turning on your videos. I strongly recommend turning on your video because we can have some interactive session. You can also get a pen and paper if you just joined. Take your time, few minutes, go get a pen and paper. You might want to take some notes. Is my voice audible to everyone? Is it clear? Okay. Hmm. Yeah, can someone unmute and talk so that I can see if I hear you properly? My audio, my speakers are working.
Hey
Hi there.
Jagadish, Theo
Hello,
here.
hello. Yeah, thanks. Hello, hi, hi, Brina. Hi,
Brenna,
Brina.
yes, that's right.
Hi, Meghna. Hi, Akshat, Shailaja. Welcome everyone. One final check from my side if we're going live on LinkedIn or not. Yes, we are going. And what about other platforms? Okay. Let's start. So once again, if you can turn on your video, it would be great. Take few minutes and set up your desk or wherever you are and just turn on your video. Go get a pen and paper and then we will start. And you can also take a couple of minutes and go and get your pen and paper. It's okay. It's going to be a little long session. It's a workshop. I'm not going to present anything too much. Of course, I'll present at the end, but it will be summary of what we are going to learn. Aparna, if you can't hear me, then I think it is the problem of your speakers because I think everyone can hear me. We did a sound test already. Yep. Okay. I will introduce myself first, but I'll keep my introduction very short and I will share my LinkedIn link in the chat so you can learn more about me. Those who are watching live from different social media platforms, you can find my LinkedIn mostly on my bio, or if you're joining from LinkedIn, obviously you can go through my profile and learn more about me. But in a nutshell, I'm Jagadish. I'm originally from India, southern part of India. My mother tongue is Telugu. Any Telugu people here? I know a couple of people. Okay, nice. Good to know. Yeah, my mother tongue is Telugu, and I came to Sweden first in 2012, and then since then I've been traveling. But in 2019, I permanently moved. I have 15 plus years of experience in IT as a consultant. I worked as a middleware consultant and then DevOps and test automation consultant. A couple of years ago, I stopped working. 6 years ago, I started my own company in Sweden with the intention of helping international talent to get into tech jobs. I've helped more than 50 people. People are working in SEB, Swedbank, Nordea, Ericsson, Scania, and you take any big company, at least one or two people who got trained from us are working there. And I also do a lot of other things. As one of them is running an international talent in Sweden community. I organize workshops like this, and also I organize webinars, seminars, potlucks, and I also invite some others, guest speakers, and conduct events. And this is one of such activities I'm conducting as part of International Talent in Sweden. There is a LinkedIn group, there is a meetup group. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, which I shared in the chat, you can see on the header itself International Talent in Sweden link. You can join that LinkedIn group as well. There is also a meetup group. I think most of you came from either LinkedIn or meetup here, or some people might have come from Instagram as well, because I've been very active on Instagram also recently. But I post a lot of personal stuff on Instagram. But when it comes to my LinkedIn, I completely post everything about how to get a job in Sweden, which is more or less relevant to any foreign country, foreign in the sense from the perspective of third world countries. If you want to get a job in any of the Western countries, you can follow me on LinkedIn and turn on notifications. I post a lot of useful stuff. Whatever I teach in my sessions, that's what I post. Once again, if you want to learn more about my companies and myself, you can go through my profile. You will learn a lot there. So I will end my introduction there, and let's jump into today's agenda. Today, first, as I said, it is going to be a workshop. That means you will work, you will learn and work. And I want you to leave this session a bit smarter, especially in the context of facing the interviews. If you are already the best, maybe we all can learn from you. But if you are good or better, you will get a little bit better for sure. So that's why be open minded, be ready to participate, actively participate, and also ask questions, and also more importantly, share your insights. Let's say at any point, if you think you know about the topic well, you can share insights. This is what I always say in all my webinars and seminars. As a group, we are much more smarter than any individual in this room. So as a group, we can learn from each other a lot. It's not that, I am the smartest here and you all are learning from me. We all can learn from each other. I can learn from you some good points. So feel free to share any insights that you think you have some personal experience, first-hand experience, or something like that. Okay, that's it. So first we will start with self-introduction, because that is the most important part of an interview. And then we will do breakout rooms. You introduce with each other, and then we come back, and then we do some behavioral interview questions session, and then we create breakout rooms. And I will explain the pattern in more detail when we reach to that point. And after that, we come back here and we take feedback, and then we start learning about the star approach. And I share some material, and then you follow that material. And then again we do some practice with star approach, and then we will do a little bit more deeper feedback. And after that, I will share you a little bit more material for you to practice. I think by the time we finish this, it will be around 1.5 hours. After that, we will open the floor for question and answers. If time permits, we'll also discuss about how to negotiate salary and other aspects of interview, and how to give references or find references, etc. So we try to cover as much as possible everything related to how to face interviews. But we are not covering how to get interviews. How to get interviews is a different part, like your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn. your approach towards the job market, your networking, etc., etc. All these things include how to get an interview. But today's context is only about once you get the interview, how to face the interview, maybe possibly in each round, each different round. Yep. Any questions, anyone? That is the agenda for today. Clear? Okay. I take the silence as yes, but you can either give thumbs up every time I ask a question, or go to the chat and type S, or unmute and speak. If you engage in the session, if you actively participate, you will be involved, and then the time runs very fast. Otherwise, if you are just in passive mode, only listening, then time runs very slow, and you will also not learn much. So actively participate. Always give thumbs up, or say yes, or unmute and speak. Yeah, and if you're not talking, please mute. And when you're talking, unmute and ask. I mostly conduct sessions with open mic, like you should be able to unmute and talk whenever you want. I don't want to put too much restrictions. So please make sure that you are muted when you are not talking. Okay, let's go. So the first, I will start with a couple of, we also have a quiz. We will also do one quiz after 15 or 20 minutes. The quiz will be interesting. You all can take part of that quiz. It will be 25 questions. You can finish it in around 10 or 15 minutes. So before we start that, uh, can you mention in the chat how many interviews you attended so far? All number of interviews.
In our lives?
Yeah, I would say yes. Okay, Yashaswini less than 10 in Sweden. Yashaswini,
Yes,
did
Jagdish.
did those interviews turn into job? Any of those?
No, unfortunately, no, because there are like few things that I want to highlight because we were in Gothenburg till February, I
Okay,
mean till Jan. So we have just been shifted to Sweden almost a year back.
okay,
So previously we were in Gothenburg. I was getting jobs for the different locations, maybe like Stockholm or Malmo.
okay,
So since I was not that much like ready to relocate and all because we have just been relocated to Gothenburg, I just said that it will be possible if it is like remote, at least remote or like visiting maybe like monthly once or twice. That also will work. But they were not ready for that. They want me to visit their office like 2 to 3 days a week, which was not possible for me because my husband would be in Gothenburg. And currently, from February, we were in Stockholm and I am
okay,
getting calls, very few calls, but they were
okay.
not turning into the
Okay, so
opportunity.
let's assume that out of you attended overall 10 interviews, but you still yet to get job, yet to
Yes.
get selected. Okay, I saw one very good comment, my favorite, from Aznit. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Aznit attended 3 interviews, and 2 of them turned into employment, right?
Yes, but not here. Hi guys. So yes, but not here in Sweden. So I moved last year from Malta, and I was studying SSE right now.
Okay,
So last month I'm trying to apply, and I still didn't get interview here in Sweden. But in Malta, where I lived before for almost 8 years, I three interview and two I get the job.
okay, okay. Thanks, Aznit, for sharing. The reason why I'm asking this question, in Sweden, or not necessarily in Sweden, but if you move to from any third world country to a Western country, like developed country like Sweden or any other European countries, or UK, US, Australia, etc., to get a job, all you need is 2 to 3 interviews. That's it. If you manage to get 2 to 3 interviews, you can get a job. But even after attending 4 or 5 interviews, and if you're still not getting a job, then that means there is definitely something wrong with the way you are presenting yourself and with the way you are answering the questions. That's it. That is when you need to check your strategy and check and take feedback about your answers. And I also don't recommend taking feedback and suggestions or advice from anyone just like that. Always take feedback, advice, guidance from someone who are in your field. Let's say you are a marketing specialist, you want to get a job in marketing field, and you are in Sweden. Maybe you came from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, or some other European country. Now you want to get a job in Sweden as a marketing specialist. Now, the best person who could guide you is someone who came like you to Sweden and found a job in the field you are working. Then they can give you good insights. So if you go and ask every other random person, they might give their opinions, so they might not work for you. So today, irrespective of any field, I will give you a very generic overview of how interviews work and how to approach yourself. But if you want to get deeper insights, it's best to go and talk to those people who are in that field. But whatever I'm going to give all the insights based on my 6 years of experience, directly training, mentoring people. As I said, people from different backgrounds joined SITA as trainees and then they got the jobs. And I also have been working very closely with the job market. So based on my learnings from trainees and my understanding and observation of job market, I prepared certain curriculum. As part of that, this is one training session workshop that I conduct internally for our trainees also. So most of them, or 90% of whatever I'm going to share, is relevant to most of the job seekers, irrespective of wherever you are in the world. But there are some countries in that interviews are typically technical Q&As. Interviews are not conversations or discussions. So there you can think of this as a HR round interview. But in Sweden, Germany, Finland, Norway, or US, UK, and other countries, you can think of this as a regular interview, because in almost all rounds of interviews, there will be situational based questions, behavioral questions. So whatever you are going to learn will be helpful in each round. Right.
Actually,
Yeah.
Jagdish,
Yeah.
from my experience, whatever the interviews I have faced till now, and I just seen that there are like not much into like behavioral or kind of sessions. It's almost like in-depth technical things that they're asking us.
We will talk about that. We will talk about different types of interviews and different rounds as well going forward in depth. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Right. So as I said, all you need is 2 to 3 interviews, not more than that. If you are attending a lot of interviews and still not getting a job, that means you need to check the way you are presenting yourself and the way you are answering the interview questions. And you need to take the feedback and change the strategy. That was the conclusion of number of interviews part. Now, let me ask you one more question. During the interview, whenever you're answering, how long should your answer be for any question? Okay,
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay,
2 to 3 minutes for tell me about yourself.
2 to 3 minutes. Who said that?
Madhu here.
Okay, Madhu, just stay on the line. We'll
Yeah.
do your self introduction and we'll see if you can introduce yourself for 2 to 3 minutes.
No, I attended one seminar and they are saying like if you speak more than 5 minutes, then it's not good. If you speak less than 2 minutes, then also it's not good. So
Where did you attend this seminar?
it's in connecting jobs. It's basically an NGO.
But where, in which country? Is it in Sweden?
Here only in Sweden, Stockholm.
Okay, if possible, meanwhile, can you share that link in the chat so that others can also maybe join their future sessions? If someone is conducting, it's good to join.
They approached me. There is not like a common link. They approached me.
Okay.
They help for the like immigrants, and I don't
Okay.
know how they will find my email ID and then.
Okay, so now connecting jobs is something all that we got, but I recommend whenever there are some sessions are being conducted
Yeah.
that helps international talent, I strongly recommend you to join because you meet like-minded people and
Yeah.
you can also learn from each other. But yeah, so we will talk about that.
Yes.
But I am, so we have 50 people in the room. I got only 4 people said 2 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute. Madhu said less
Oh,
than five
so
minutes.
Jagdish, it's not exactly like 1 minute or 2 minutes, according to my thing. So it all depends upon the question and the way the how they are asking. It all depends upon it. Maybe if it
Okay,
is a technical thing, that is different.
let's assume it depends.
Yeah.
That is your answer. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute. Beauty pageants give only 20 seconds. That's good to know. Okay, so anyone who is applying for beauty pageants, prepare a 20-second speech. Okay. Right. So now the my whole work is trying to make you think from recruiter's point of view. Okay. At every stage of job application, maybe it is creating resume, LinkedIn cover letter, or attending interviews, negotiating salary, or references and everything. So start thinking from the recruiter's point of view, and your life becomes much easier in the job search process. Now, you think yourself as a recruiter, put yourself in the recruiter's shoes, and would you like to ask 100 questions to get the idea about the candidate, whether to hire or not? Or would you be happy if you just ask 10 questions and then they give you all the insights that you need? Which one would you prefer? Asking 100 questions or asking as many less questions as possible to
So
hire someone?
just yeah, if I'm in the recruiter mode, I would say that whatever is required for the company and the position, I prefer to at least know the basics, not like in depth or something, because every tool is different and every training would be different. Anyways, the person would be getting a
No,
training once they get it.
Yashaswini, stick
Yeah,
to the context, only
yeah,
answer the question. Okay?
yeah.
So if you are recruiting someone,
Hmm?
would you ask 100 questions to select the candidate,
Hmm?
or would you prefer asking as many less questions as possible and get the insights from the candidate? Which one would you prefer as a recruiter?
I definitely don't go with 100 questions.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
thanks. Anyone else who would enjoy asking 100 questions? Yeah, in the chart we can see less questions, less questions, less questions. Okay, so then everyone prefers talking less, especially if I am taking an interview of the candidate. I don't want to work too hard to know about the candidate to make a idea that this person is best fit for this job, right? I don't want to do interrogation of that candidate. If the candidate makes my life easy, making a point that that person is best fit for this role, then he's making my life easy. So interview is all about that. Think from that perspective. Interview is all about you proving that you are the best fit for this role. There will be like 10, 15, or 20 more people who are attending the interview. Everybody is doing the same thing. And I will select, when I say I think of it as recruiter, recruiters will select only when they get confidence that, okay, this person is best fit. It is mentioned on the paper, on the resume, or on LinkedIn, or on cover letter, or in the form of your answers. It doesn't matter what question is coming. For every question, if you take that as an opportunity to prove that you are the best fit for this role, that's it. You have done the right job, and your chances of getting selected will increase. So there is no limit for the time. I don't recommend putting any limit for any question when it comes to talking to a recruiter. But it must be relevant and it must be interesting. You cannot talk about all your lifetime achievements since the beginning you have done. It will not help. You might have got a gold medal in your university, but do you have at least 1 year of experience with the tool that they are expecting? So they are more interested in knowing your hands-on experience than your achievements that are not relevant. Maybe in the area of soft skills, that will be a good to have skill, but that is not a mandatory skill. So your job is to convince the interviewer that you are the best fit for this role, and you can take as much time as you want. You can take half an hour. you might think that half an hour is too much, but think of it like that. Think of it like this. So you applied for a front-end developer role, and I am looking for someone who worked with LLMs, who can integrate the latest developed LLMs using React.js. That is my requirement. And you showed up to the interview and you said, Jagdish, you know what? I very recently developed one app using React and I integrated OpenAI LLMs, and also I used some other voice AI agents. Do you want to see it? Then I would say, yes, please show me. And then you will start sharing your screen and you will give me a walkthrough of 30, 40 minutes of what you have built. I would keep quiet and listen to everything that you say for 30, 40 minutes because you are giving me everything that I want to know so that I can make my decision. So never put a time limit to any answer. Again, it depends. So you take as much time as you want for each question. The recruiter wants to listen from you everything that makes them, makes it easy for them to make the decision to select you or reject you. So whether it is self-introduction, whether it is answer situational based technical question, whether it is a behavioral interview question, it doesn't matter. Always take as much time as possible. Once again, it must be relevant and it must be also interesting. Just because it is relevant, if you just keep talking continuously, they might get bored and they might get zone out and they might lose interest in listening to you. Okay, agree on this or any other comments? So I see very male-oriented companies, so doubt I got the job, but crazy how complicated. I think I've missed the conversation, Sarah. We'll get back to it later. Uh,
I think, Jagdish, I have a point here.
yes, Steve.
So I don't agree with that because one, it's time bound. The
Yep,
interview is time bound, right?
yep,
Sorry, my video is kind of having a problem. Yeah, so it is time bound. So as a result, if it is, let's say, there has been interviews where I've attended, which has been like half an hour,
yep,
and you can't, and you already know it's half an hour, so
yep,
you have to be very conscious of the time and the fact that you want to get, or you should give the recruiter or whoever it is a
yep,
sufficient amount of time to get through not only what they have to interview as well as whatever you have to ask them as well, right? So it's
yep,
a bit it's a bit being cognizant of the time and making sure, yes, you satisfy whatever is the question which is being asked, right?
yep.
And make sure that it is crisp to the point and not beating around the bush, right? So you just go straight for it. And so it's, yeah, it's on a case to case, it's on a question basis. Perhaps
Yeah,
some may take longer than
I
some. Yeah,
I agree with your disagreement,
yeah,
especially if it is a very time bound and less than 30 minutes or something like that.
yeah,
But the thing is, yeah, so don't take me literally when I say you can take 30 to 40 minutes.
yeah, correct.
It's not in the literal sense I said you can take as much as time. But of course, if you listen carefully, I said, would you like to show the app that I built using the React.js with LLM? That was the exact requirement I had. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what you are proposing me to. Then I said yes.
yeah,
Then you
yeah,
will show. But if I say no, it's okay, fine, then we'll move on to next questions because I have a list of questions. Then we
mm,
will go with that flow,
yeah,
right? So we need to understand the interviewers. I agree. That's why I said I agree with your point. We need
yeah,
to understand the interviewers' intentions as well. If they're
mm,
okay, we presenting little longer, we can do that because we are making their life easy in selecting us or rejecting us.
mm,
So yeah, read the person, understand the intentions, but by default, no one would stop you as long as you are giving as Steve said, the relevant information.
correct,
If you
correct.
start beating
Yeah,
around the bush, then that's
yeah,
it. They'll cut you off. Then
yeah.
that's your signal that you're beating around the bush. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also just one other point I'd like to add is also to check the body language of the person. You know if they are being receptive. I've noticed that
Yes.
also has really helped me when I'm answering them, and you know when they are zoning out. And
Yes.
that's the time that you
I
got to
agree.
wind down, and right? Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, Steve, you mentioned a very good point. But interview is an art. How would you develop such skill, like whether the person is zoning out or receptive or nodding or not at all listening or it's just going over their head? How would you develop that skill? I'm asking everyone.
So
It's more of
whenever
a
I
the
think,
sorry.
yeah, I think occasionally you need to take a pause and ask the recruiter, does this make sense? Do we continue with this, further, or do you want me to summarize this in a more brief way?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. But I would put one thing, that is practice. The more you practice the interview, the more you get good at it. For example, if you are a job seeker, it's very hard to get the real interview experience. I think someone mentioned someone got 100 interviews. They are, I think, experts by now. I don't think I attended 100 interviews in my 15 years of experience. Who was that? In the chat, you can scroll up, you will see someone attended 100 interviews. So what you can do, you can, with your friends or partners or fellow job seekers, you can create a list of questions based on your resume and based on the field, situational based technical questions or typical technical Q&A or pure behavioral interview questions. Make a list and practice with each other. And every time you practice, take the interview as a real interview, as if you are going to get the job after that interview. So if you observe all the big sports players or sports teams in the world, they all do a lot of practice. They don't directly go and play the main match always. They do a lot of match practice and also fitness practice. And then they go to the main play. So think of interview also as a sport, and you have to do a lot of net practice, a lot of fitness practice, and that you can do with your fellow job seekers or friends or partners. Let's say you don't have fellow job seekers, give your kid or your partner or your friend the questionnaire and ask them to take your interview and ask them to ask the questions randomly. You take that interview as a very serious interview, as if you're going to get the job. And that's how you develop the skill that Steve was mentioning, like how, whether they're receptive or not, whether their body language is friendly or not, or other stuff. Okay, so I wanted to make one point, that is, don't hesitate to speak longer as long as it's relevant and interesting. Your job is to make the interviewer life easy in making the decision, and not the other way. Most of the people, by talking too much unnecessary stuff or giving one word, one sentence answers, they make it very difficult to the recruiter. Your chances of getting selected to the next round or getting an offer will be very less if you make the life of a recruiter difficult.
When you say recruiter, right? I mean, I posted a question also in the chat.
Okay.
Initially, what happens is, there is a job post, and then the first point of contact is a HR recruiter.
Yep.
They don't ask so deep technical questions. They just want to, assuming that they scan your CV and see that you are a good fit.
Yep.
And they might ask you some very basic questions, that how many years of experience have you got in, say, in React or in Java or in .NET? Do you have a valid work permit? What is your experience in Sweden, and so on and so forth, right? So, and usually these questions are either asked over a call, or they send you a email where you need to kind of give your responses. In some of the questions, your responses would be binary, like how long have you been working in, or do you have experience in a particular technology? The answer could be a yes or a no. So what I assume is, what you mentioned is the next stage, where actually the hiring manager or the hiring team comes
Yep.
in and starts, probing you much deeper. Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I mean, what was your question? So you're trying to.
When you say recruiter is,
Yes.
I mean, you gave an
Yeah, I
example.
mean, yeah, I agree. We will also talk about each stage of round, but the first round, HR round, is typically it's just to know you. That's it. It will be a very short call. It will be not an 1 hour interview. So in that, they will ask some typical questions, a couple of behavioral interview questions, and if you sound confident, most likely they'll send you to the second round. It's very rare that, at least in Sweden, not to get selected in the HR round. If you're not getting selected in the HR round itself, let's say the first call, the first screening call that happens, it is highly unlikely to get rejected in that area. If you're getting rejected, then that means you're doing something terribly wrong. Yeah. So most 99% of the times you will go to the next round. They just call you that you are real. That's it. If I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, and if someone got rejected many times at the first screen call itself. Okay, so let's do one exercise now. That is self. How many of you think that self introduction is an important part of interview process? How many of you think, or do you think it's irrelevant in 2026? You can raise your hand. Or
Relevant. It is relevant. It will be the first impression.
yeah. So, do you think you have sent your resume already, and they also have a LinkedIn link in your resume, or maybe other GitHub, Behance, or other profiles or portfolios? They can learn about you already, but does it still make sense to ask the question, tell me about yourself? Does it
I
still
think
make
it does
sense?
because when you're saying that tell me something about yourself, it's not what you are as a professional person or what you do professionally. It's more about you as an individual. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy? Who is there in your family? And what I understand in Sweden is that these factors do play an important factor. I mean, they are important in the in the Sweden job industry.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
But talking about mm, interest and so on, is it necessary for introduction of ourselves, or is out of the topic?
Sorry, your voice was a bit low. Could you speak louder?
Yeah, that the introduction comes with the telling about the interest and so on. I'm curious to know that whether this introduction should be focused on the what work or what task have you already done in your company, or should be more broader, like interest or any. Yeah, the question is that to how far should we?
Okay, so as far as questions are concerned, please wait for a while. We will take the questions in the last. We have 30 minutes for only questions. Okay. So for now, otherwise, we'll end up talking only about answering only the questions. Also, Madhu mentioned in the chat that I went through all the 3 rounds and was quite close to getting the role. We even discussed the salary, but when things suddenly went quiet. So I have an answer for your question, Madhu, and we are going to cover salary negotiation at the end if time permits. So
Yeah.
please remind me about this. This is very interesting topic, the salary negotiation. Everything can go south all of a sudden. It happened to many people I mentored also. We'll talk about that. So let's talk about self-introduction, and your question will also be answered in a minute. Self-introduction is very, very relevant, and you must go prepared. You cannot go unprepared with your self-introduction. It is not just about knowing what is on the paper. On paper you can be a lion or tiger, but when you open your mouth and start speaking, that is when I actually get the confidence as someone who is listening to you or who is seeing you in person. That is when I get the confidence that you are the same person that you put on paper. And it also presents your communication skills, presentation skills, and everything, your confidence and everything. That's why it is still important. I start all my job strategy sessions with self introduction, and we spend at least 2 to 3 weeks mastering the self introduction alone. Even if the interviewer did not ask your self introduction, you must make some space, ask for permission at some point of time during the discussion, and give a full introduction of yourself. Some interviewers are like, they just want to go outside of the norm, and they don't start with tell me about yourself. They start with some other question, from where are you, what are you doing now, what were you doing in the previous company, etc., etc., and they take it from there. But you can still make some room and then introduce yourself. Maybe you don't have to literally say that, can I introduce myself, but okay, let me explain more about my experience from the beginning, and then start introducing yourself. Right. So let's do some activity now. I'll create a breakout rooms. You will be paired with one random person. Though I said that you don't have to take You don't have to worry about the time for any question. But now we are in a group session and we have to close in 1.5 hours. So take only 1 minute to introduce yourself to the other person, and then the other person will introduce themselves, and you come back here, and we will talk about it. Okay? All good? Yes. So it will be automatic assignment of each members. There will be 2 people in each room. Just take 1 minute each. It is 13:39 now in Sweden, so I will end the rooms exactly in 2 minutes. On your screen, a window will pop up. You can click and join the breakout rooms. Yep, I opened the rooms. So those who are watching live on LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube, if you want to be part of this live activities, you have to, you can go to my recent posts and then check the Zoom link in the event page. And then you can join the meeting here. Otherwise, it's not possible for you to join the breakout rooms. Or those who did not go to the breakout rooms or just joined, you can talk to me. We can talk here. We can discuss. I see Vikas, Andia, and Kushbakt. You can introduce yourself here.
Yeah, I cannot hear anything.
Sorry, you were not there. No one was there in your room?
No, there is this Tanuya, I think, but his mic or her mic is muted and I cannot hear anything.
Okay. But you
Yes,
can introduce yourself here.
hey, I'm Azanet. So I think I follow you on LinkedIn. I saw your profile. So I'm Azanet. I'm from the Philippines, but I live in Malta for almost 8 years, and then we moved last year here in Sweden since my husband is from here in Sweden. I used to work in iGaming industry, so I'm a RG officer, a former RG officer, and now I'm studying SFE. So I'm learning Swedish, and I'm starting to find some job here in Sweden, but it's so hard since I work in a gaming industry here in Sweden. It's not so common. It's more on Malta, in Malta, I mean. And then now I am really, I don't know what to do. So that's why I joined this your webinar so I can have some tips on how to get a job here in Sweden. And I'm even thinking I'm gonna study more since it's very important boat building here. And since I am in a compliance and so difficult to find the same role. Here in Sweden, I was thinking to study like a seller so I can have a building and I can do practic, for example. Then maybe I can find a job because I think I also read that it's better to find something else if it's not easy to find a job that you used to work before, for example. Yeah, so that's what my
Okay.
plan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I used to work remotely before here in Sweden. So I work as a consultant as well, the same company as I worked before in Malta. But I decided to resign so I can focus on learning Swedish instead because I really want to work here in Sweden. But then I don't know if I really did a good decision there because now I realize how hard to find a job here in Sweden for me.
Yeah, it is. It is not easy. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it is difficult. It is definitely hard.
Yeah, I know. But as they said, it's calmer, Blair, better. So I'm still new. So that's why the most important thing is to learn the language, do networking. So that's why I'm also very active in LinkedIn to find some network. And maybe I'm gonna go to Gatineau someday.
Oops.
Join the
Sorry, I was just talking more.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize the
Sorry.
time. No
Yeah.
problem.
Back.
I've closed the breakout rooms, everyone, if you
Yes.
have not realized yet.
Yeah.
I know I can leave the breakout rooms just like that and no one will come back.
Yeah.
You will find new friends. So that's why I've put the timeline very strictly.
Thank
Yes,
you.
okay. Welcome back. Welcome back. And I want to ask only two people. Can you just introduce, I mean, can you say your name and say the person's name who you were talking to, who were introducing themselves to you?
Yeah, myself Rahul.
Yeah, hi Rahul.
Uh,
Who was
yeah,
there with you?
yeah, Madhu is with me over the call.
Okay, so what role Madhu is looking for?
She's been certified in Python developer, so she's looking for a role in Python in the Sweden location. She mentioned specific location, but I forgot.
Okay, and what Python, like Python backend developer or Python data analyst or Python what?
Python developer could be in the backend.
Could be backend, but you're not sure, right?
Yeah, because yes, I'm not sure.
Okay, Madhu, that is your typical HR. That's how they listen to you when you introduce. Okay.
As long as in the Python, they will qualify.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
all
said like
Python.
I am a PCAP certified full stack developer, so I'm looking
Full
for a
stack
job in
developer.
Python or full stack. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
One more person who wants to take the stage and
Yeah,
Ak-
Jagdish, I can talk.
yes, Yashaswini.
Well, I was being connected to a person named Pasin, and he just said that he's working in some ERP domain or something, which I'm not really sure what is that.
Okay.
And after that, he said that he was working with HCL and some project, and he worked under some project managers and something like that.
Okay.
And that I just didn't remember few terminologies that he said, and said that he was currently looking for a job right now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Akshat, what about you? Who are you with? You're on mute, Akshat.
Sorry, I think I was with Megha, but
Okay.
since I'm from a non-tech background, I did not really understand most of the technologies we talked about. It was something about like she has certifications in AWS and few
Okay.
other like field yeah, things related to tech background, and I couldn't
Okay.
really like I didn't really follow it much because I'm from a product like non-tech background. So
Very
yeah,
honest, Akshat. Thanks.
yes.
Okay. So, how many of you think that the HRs who Raj mentioned this point actually very well? That's why I said, you should never get rejected at the screening level. We will talk about that more now. That's why I wanted to do this activity. How many of you think that, the recruiters or HRs are technically strong? They know everything about the technology. So you can mention in the chat. You can say yes or no. If they are technically very strong, if they understand all technical terminology, type yes. If you think they don't, then type no. Okay, so
It is actually, like they try to imitate the terminologies that comes out in the job description.
yeah,
Even if you try to talk about something similar, okay,
yeah,
uh, they would definitely, stick to the terminologies in the job description. For example, I remember a few months back, I had applied for a position, and then one of the bullet points in the job description was that you must be familiar with agile frameworks.
okay,
So then the HR called me and asked me, are you familiar with agile frameworks? So I said, yeah, I know Scrum, I know Safe, I know Kanban.
yeah.
And she deliberately asked me, no, no, tell me, are you familiar with
Scrum,
agile?
exactly. Yeah, I mean that's the whole point. HRs also, do not expect HRs to be technically strong or technically equipped, because in a company there will be a lot of roles. Unless a HR is working with a niche recruitment, let's say a HR has been working for 5 6 years with cyber security recruitment, then she would know, that is also she or he would know even that, if they are interested in exploring technically about the terminology. Otherwise, even if they are working for a decade, there is no chance that they would understand what the actual developer or candidate is speaking. And it is not practically possible to know all the designations, all the technical terminologies, tools, especially in tech. Everything is changing very fast. It's not possible to keep up the speed and the change. So it is okay, it is understandable, no one to blame here. But that is your typical HR. Just now how you see a couple of examples, it's not possible for them to understand and comprehend everything that you are saying. Then how would they make the decision? First of all, before I say anything, interviews are not fair in my personal opinion, because you just get 30 minutes or 20 minutes in the screening round, and in each next round you will get hardly 1 hour, and hardly how many hours you will spend in the entire interview process. It is 3 hours, 4 hours if there is an assessment or something like that. Maximum 4 hours is the time that you spend introducing yourself, which I don't think is a fair time to learn everything about you, especially if you have a decade of experience, if you have worked on multiple projects and everything. So interviews by nature are not, prepared or created to make the best output. It is a kind of guess, wild guess. So that's why a lot of recruitments go bad, and companies do a bad hire, and it is very expensive for companies. The recruitment process is very expensive for companies than the candidate. If one bad hire can cost them a lot, and they have to do entire hiring process again if the candidate leaves, it can be bad fit, or candidate might not like the company, or whatever it can be. If there is one bad hire, it costs a lot, and they have to do all over again. It costs them a lot of time also, not just money. So don't always, that's why I always say that, think from the recruiter's point of view. They're not simply they're not simply passing the time. They are dead serious about whatever the time they are spending in the recruitment process. If they are taking a 1 hour interview, they are dead serious about hiring you. So you are the one who should give them clarity about you are the best fit for this role, because they are super serious already. It's not just we as job seekers are serious. Now let's do the quiz, and after the quiz, we'll talk more about self-introduction. It doesn't matter whether the recruiter is technically equipped or not, paying 100% attention or not, taking notes or not. You should sound very confident, and you should justify that you are best fit for the job, and you should give all the chronological order or reverse chronological order, whatever you do, starting from your academics to your current working condition, or if your job seeking condition. You should explain them very clearly so that they can match it against the job description and make a decision. That's what you need to do. I also have a template of self-introduction format, which I will share. But before that, we will do a quiz. What you can do, you can grab your phone so that you can start taking this quiz. And you can scan the QR code on the screen and start answering the questions, or I will also share the link in the chat, and you can directly click on the link and start answering the questions. Okay. Once again, before we start the quiz, I want to ask one behavioral interview question. Please raise your hand if you want to answer. I'll pick and you can answer. Okay? Before we jump into that, how would you resolve conflict with your coworker? Who would answer this? Raise hand if you want to answer this. I want someone who haven't spoken till now to speak. Okay, Brina, you can try. How would you resolve conflict with your coworker?
Okay. Well, first of all, it depends on the type of conflict. If this is just a basic trying to solve a problem, like a lot of my work experiences, with a help desk, and maybe we're trying to just do a break fix, you can talk it out, reason with them, explain why you're trying to work the way you're trying to work. If it's something more serious, like they're actively bullying you, for example, then you've got to escalate. That's reasonable. Like you need to talk to your direct report. You need to talk to HR, possibly if it's something that's like illegal or discriminatory. So you have to use discernment as to what type of conflict it is and whether it's your purview or somebody else's purview. So it's always subjective.
Okay, thank you, Brina. Who else wants to answer this question? Those who haven't spoken till now, please raise your hand. I said at the beginning, you must participate actively. You will get a very good feedback if you answer. You can improve your chances of getting selected. I will tell you whether you will be selected or not. And we can debate. You don't have to agree with me. By the way, you don't have to agree with me, everything I'm saying. Only if it makes sense, agree. No one, we have 44 people and there is no one who can answer this question.
I can go
I can
with
answer.
it.
Yes,
You continue.
yes, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, Vidya, you can reply first.
Yes, Vidya, go ahead.
Yeah, I think when I relate this with, for example, if I report a defect or anything, and if I have a conflict that the other person, the developer, is not agreeing, I try to show the facts, and I try to work with him and collaborate with him in a friendly manner. Try to revisit my requirements and try to make him understand. Um, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Amna, what would you do?
Yeah, first of all, like Brina said that it depends on the matter, that what is the issue actually. So what type of conflict is it is. But what I will do first, I will try to convince that this is the solution. We can carry on in this way. But if the other party is not agreeing, like they are consistent on their strategy, so I will let them do, okay, try this. Otherwise, if it is not succeeded, then we can work on my strategy. We can follow this way.
Okay, thanks, Amna. Okay, Heba, you can go next. Akshat, you can go
Yeah.
after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Hi.
Heba.
So I do come from HR background, so I
Okay.
could, yeah, so I could give my thoughts. So I think the conflict, I think before it even builds up, you do get that inner feeling that, okay, something's not right. So I think whenever the conflict is there, I would actually talk to person directly, not over chat, not over the phone, face to face, because that is more better when the conversation actually happens in a flow. So I would actually focus on basically understanding their perspective, instead of just trying to define on mine and just trying to talk about my conflict. Is because a lot of conflicts in HR and or maybe recruitment or something basically comes from when there's expectations are not aligned on the same way, like it would, uh, rather than actual disagreement. So then I would actually explain my view, what I think, using concrete examples, what I felt, and what, so that doesn't really feel personal or any sort of vaguism is involved. Maybe if it's like any work related, like for example, like something is not completed on time or responsibilities, I would actually try to bring back the conversation on what we agreed on first before doing the any sort of work. And if it's still not aligned, I would actually be comfortable involving a manager, not to escalate but to get a clarity, and just to keep things moving forward, not to just stick on to one conflict. You could have things going forward. It's all about not to win over a conflict, but to make sure your working relationship doesn't really get spoiled, because yeah, that's my say on it. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, okay, then I think, what I feel, we should do one more exercise. I am giving 4 questions to you in the chat. Okay. So you can see there are 4 questions. How do you handle stress? Tell me about a time when you were asked to do something you had never done before. How did you react? What did you learn? Tell me about a time when you had to adjust to a colleague's working style in order to complete a project or achieve your objectives. And what makes you angry? These are the 4 questions. Okay, you can note down or you can copy. Now I will create breakout rooms. Go to breakout rooms. Again, you will be paired with random person, not the same person as before, or the same person, we don't know. And then answer the questions. Okay. And again, we have to go with the time limit, unfortunately, though I'm not a big fan of time limit. And then come back here. After that, I'll tell you why whoever answered now will not be get selected, unfortunately. All those who answered will not be get selected. And I will tell you why once you are back. So try to answer these questions. I'm opening the breakout rooms now. Okay, once again, those who are watching on social media platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, if you want, you can join the Zoom session. If you're on LinkedIn, you can go to my latest post and you will find the Zoom link. If you're on Instagram, you can go to the link in the bio. If you're on YouTube, then you must come to LinkedIn and find the link. Sachin, Andrea, Santosh, as you are here in the main room, you may try to answer the question. Andrea, let me know if you want to answer the question or we can have a discussion. Otherwise, we will wait for everyone to come back to the main room. Okay, I just went to a breakout room to help one of the participant. Those who are watching online and not joined the Zoom meeting, you can wait for 5 more minutes so that I will share the QR code for the quiz and you can participate in the quiz.
Hello.
Hello, hi, Sarah.
Hi. Hi. Sorry about that. I'm in the garage. I don't know whether my connection is very good. Sorry. It's moving day today, so very, very stressful day for me.
Okay.
We just have to go back to the apartment and do 2 things that they weren't happy with, so we can save a bit of money. But it's been hell. It's been an absolute nightmare.
Okay,
So
no
I'm
problem. You can just listen in.
Yeah, it's really wonderful what you're doing and this. I do have a question though, because I did attend something with a UK charity group,
Okay.
and when they gave us a tip when you introduce ourselves that it's like a sales pitch.
Okay.
You have to kind of mention not only like your background and your experience, but like also like sell yourself according to the job, and also then like personality traits that would match then the job. But I can't remember. We did it once, but I lost it, and yeah, that's why I always say the same things, which is not as good as what they were telling us. Yeah. But yeah,
No, but I
anyway.
agree with that. That's a very good advice. Interview is all about selling yourself, and especially self-introduction, you must prepare your own pitch. So I usually recommend 2 types of such pitches. One is very long, covering everything about your professional experience, including your academics and personal achievements, hobbies, etc., etc. It can go very long as it can be, but there is also around 1 minute pitch, which will just sharp sales pitch exactly what advice you got. Whatever the job you are applying, whenever you get the opportunity to introduce yourself, you must be able to pitch in 1 minute, proving again the same thing that I have been saying again and again throughout this session, that why you are best fit for this role. That's nothing but selling yourself. So it's good to be prepared, and you have to be prepared. It will not come automatically. You have to prepare for that.
Yeah, I was actually good. They even wanted a personality test. I think the HR woman just is a bit crazy in the head. But there were one or two people that came from other departments, and I hadn't really prepared for them. And I
Okay.
think I may have actually jeopardized my chance of having the job, because you're quite right. You know, you have to, because there were a lot of different team members that came in, and yeah. I was the one that said male dominated as well. And, very
Okay.
tricky when a female applies and everyone around. I get on very well with males, but some males, they tend to be derogatory when it comes to engineers, female engineers. So, yeah. Anyway, it's
Yeah,
not to
I mean, I kind of not 100% would agree with you, and also there are so many fields that are highly dominated by one gender, and unfortunately, the trend continues to be the same. So it is very difficult to change the trend.
And there are people, I mean, I studied engineering, maybe not electro engineering like some of them have, but it doesn't make me any less a person. I did a very broad, I mean, yeah, but they'll use anything they can just to, kind of.
Yeah, this is one thing I actually cover under job market research and how to approach towards the job market. And these are the practical challenges. If you take Sweden also, Sweden, the unemployment rate for foreign born women is the highest at Sweden. So there can be a lot of variables contributing to these statistics, but I know personally there are so many women who are well educated. When I say well educated, they had masters, double masters, PhDs, and work experience. When I say work experience, 5 years, 10 years, and still struggle to get the job. And so that is also one variable that is contributing to these statistics, where unemployment rate for foreign born women is at the highest. And you will be surprised to know that unemployment rate for native born women is around 4% or 5%, because the unemployment rate increased. But the foreign born women unemployment rate is 18% almost. So
Wow,
it is
wow, interesting.
the
Okay.
difference. You can see the difference, how far it is. And
Yeah, I speak fluent German and English, which is obviously something that I can offer the company, and I'm already B2 French, but I think maybe I can concentrate now on trying to perfect my French, and then I'll be then trilingual, because in Switzerland that's quite valuable. Maybe that will help me then. I'll have to see.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I can say is good luck with your job search, and
Yeah,
hopefully it will eventually work out.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, I can teach part-time. I was doing it for many, many years to generate income if push comes to shove, and hopefully go back into technical translation to generate a bit of money to keep me above water. There's quite a good system here with unemployment as well. But yeah, I'm a workaholic, so it's definitely a bit depressing. But hey,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll survive that.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So we have time. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing your story. Let me close all the rooms so that everyone comes back.
Okay.
There's going to be some truth bombs and reality checks for everyone.
Uh,
Um,
Jagdish, I
yeah.
just have one complaint. Like, I'm literally enjoying the conversation and then it keeps coming back.
I'm really
Like, you have
sorry.
the timer. Why do you have the timer? I'm like, okay, I'm like having such a good conversation with, all
We
the
will
time. And
have.
I'm like,
We will
okay.
continue.
Yeah.
I want to end everything that I wanted to cover today by 13, and then we will stay here. We will really have amazing conversation. I promise you that you will not miss that. But yeah, we
Sorry,
have to stick to the schedule.
one more complaint. 3 to 4 minutes I was, sorry, not 3 to 4, almost 2 minutes I was alone in a meeting room. Then
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
me too.
realized
Then
that
Madhu
late,
joined.
and then I started adding. But trust me, you will not miss anything. We will compensate everything by end of this session. Now, get your phones and start prepare yourself to take the quiz. Yeah, here we are. Yep. Please mute if you're not talking. And let's start the quiz. It will take around 10 minutes. You can scan this QR code from your mobile and start taking the quiz. Otherwise, you can also
Can we
click
get the
the
link?
link that I'm going to share in the chat.
Okay.
And make sure to enter your name because you might win this quiz. Those who don't have their mobile phones handy or don't have mobile internet, you can click on the link in the chat and it will redirect you to a different tab, but you will not be able to see the meeting or my screen. Those who are joining online from social media platforms, you can scan this QR code and you will enter into the chat, enter into the quiz. I have 24 participants. As soon as we turn 30, I will start the quiz. And we will end the quiz exactly in 10 minutes. So you have to be very fast. There are 25 questions. That means you will get less than 30 seconds for each question, around 25 seconds for each question. So you have to be very fast. So let's go. Okay. Pilla already finished the test. So does Fenolar, Hoi.
Yeah, that's me.
Hoi, you have chances to reach to the top, but I think you lost. Maybe Steve, you can try. Steve and Rasakar. Oh my God. So you can try to be on the top. I strongly recommend attempt all the questions. We will have very interesting discussion about each question. Till now, we have only set up the ground for learning how to approach towards the interview.
Say with a very pompous name and say that my recommendation would be that my recommendation would be to put it in that way. So okay,
so now mostly we will understand, like you can understand why you were not getting selected even after attending more than 3 or 4 interviews or 5 interviews. This is where the clarity comes.
the truth. All parents here.
Okay, Pasan is trying to climb the ladder up. And we have 84% class accuracy. That is really good.
Okay, so
that means everyone has at least 1 or 2 things. I mean, for a lot of questions, there are no right or wrong answers. Only there are few questions when there is right or wrong answer.
Is any session on consult.
Okay, 2 minutes. We will end the quiz. Most of the people finished.
Seeing this heard about
So
this.
those who are still attempting, just attempt all the questions fast. You have just less than 2 minutes. Okay, Pasan and Steve changed the leaderboard. I don't see. Okay, Shailaja, you can try. Okay, Meghana, I don't think even if you get all the questions right, you can be on the top. But Shailaja has some chances. Shailaja and JNP. But you also don't have time. Okay, less than a minute.
And it's hard to focus when I hear you.
I'm sorry. I have to keep talking. It's part of the quiz. Okay, so fast attempt all the questions. Those who are still applying, attempting. Shailaja almost. Okay, Shailaja, we will end as soon as you finish. Okay. Okay, let's end the quiz. Okay, big round of applause to Shailaja, Pasan, and Steve. Pasan, congratulations for scoring top. You can give a virtual applause. Right. Okay, so before we go further, I want to ask everyone, were there any questions that were very interesting to you or relatable to you, or you want to say anything about any particular question? Did you find it interesting or relatable, or did it remind you some of your experiences? Anything? Anyone?
It's more to me about how suddenly the interviewer adds some behavioral thing that we are not ready before, unexpected.
Okay. Okay. So let's go through each.
Can I
Yeah. Yes, please.
yeah.
Yeah.
So mine was what took me back to a couple of interviews I've had is when I'm asked about what animal spirit am I?
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, and this is a kind of question that comes I've encountered like twice. So yeah, that was a
Okay.
question that I found challenging. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through each question one by one and let's discuss. Again, you can interrupt me, you can share your views, share your points so that we can make it as a discussion. And then this is the most important part of our entire workshop. This is where we learn how to approach towards interviews. And whatever we learn here is the outcome of this session. Whatever we have done so far is actually setting ground for this whole discussion. Let's see how people feel about interviews. Interviews is tricky, roller coaster, unfair, fear, stressful, test, star, cumbersome, useful, evaluating, opportunity. I really like this word, opportunity. Of course, interview is an opportunity. I feel interviews, everyone must take interview very seriously. You must go very well prepared because a job can change your life. It can move you from one country to another country. It can completely change the dimensions of your life. You can be a completely different person after working in the job for maybe a decade. So uh, maybe no one thinks that long, but everything starts with that interview. Once you get an interview opportunity, if you clear it and you start working, and then life goes on. So that I ended up in Sweden because I attended one interview and that led to a job in a Bangalore-based consulting company, and that company was working with Swedish customers, and then they sent me to Sweden in 2012. So that changed my life. That's why I'm here in Sweden now and talking to you. So yeah, interviews are an opportunity, a great opportunity. So take each interview very seriously. Don't just let go any interview opportunity. But this is the most common experience: nervous, stressful, fear, roller coaster, anxious, all these things are very common among all interview participants. I haven't found anyone who actually enjoys interview. Okay, at some, I mean, the degree of the stress or anxiety can be different for each person. Maybe someone feels 100% stressful, but someone might feel only 1% anxious. But that is there for most of the people. It is there for me. It was there for me. It is there for me every time. And it is, we are humans, so it is okay. Okay, let's see what everyone feels the biggest challenge in interviews. Feeling nervous, answering behavioral interview questions, structuring the answers, selling myself confidently, handling unexpected questions. Yeah, all of them are valid. And personally, what I've observed by taking a lot of mock interviews, people struggle when a behavioral interview question is asked. They struggle because they can't structure their answer. As you might have experienced in breakout rooms, I've shared 4 questions, and it was not easy. Even when I asked, how do you handle conflict with your coworker, not many people raised their hands initially. And once a couple of people started answering, a lot of others started raising their hands. That is mainly because when you get a behavioral interview question, all of a sudden you go blank. You go blank because you have never prepared to answer a behavioral interview question. But once you get some time, then you prepare your answer in the head and then you are ready. Now imagine if you can prepare around 40-50 important behavioral interview questions in different sections, you are always ready. And that's what we will do today. We'll set the foundation for that path today. Yeah, handling unexpected questions. So most of the unexpected questions for you are the behavioral interview questions, in my opinion, or the questions like, how angry, when will you get angry, or what kind of bird you will be, or how weird are you on a scale of 1 to 10. These kind of questions are unexpected questions, and you can be prepared for unexpected questions also. Yeah, yeah. So this is something interesting. If you could have any superpower for your interview, what would it be? Can someone tell me, whoever selected mind reading? Okay, how do you think it is helpful for interview?
That's me,
Yeah.
though. Basically, it's like when you want to sell a product and you know what your customer wants. Yeah. If you know what the other person wants, you know what to provide, be it a product, be it an answer.
Okay, perfect. So you say that if you can read their mind, you can give the best answer that they are expecting.
Yes.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Mind reading? How do you think mind reading will help?
Even I have opted for this one.
Okay.
So what I meant over there is like whenever I'm answering, so if I could sense that whether the other person is okay with my answer, so I can go in detail with that. If they were kind of, I mean, not interesting to listen me, so then maybe I can move ahead. I mean, I can reduce. In that way, I have chosen this one actually.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sunita, for sharing. Okay, many people selected unlimited confidence. Can someone explain?
Yeah, I can go ahead.
Yeah.
So for me, like I feel that whenever an interviewer asks you a question, like it's not necessary that there's one correct answer. It's more about like they want to know how like confidently can you bring forward your point. And I feel like I personally struggle with that. That sometimes you like like you want to say something, but you are unable to put it properly in words, and you can't back up or like what you want to like tell them. So I think like with like if you are confident in your answer and if you can present it nicely, that has a much bigger impact than a supposedly right answer.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's actually very good perception. So, and yeah, most of the times there is not, no one is expecting a right answer from you, but they're looking for the thought process and your approach towards a certain problem or situation. So Yeah, I agree. If you have a good confidence, and then you can approach towards that answer, and maybe they would like it. Okay, one more person, whoever selected unlimited confidence. What was your reason for selecting this?
Yes, Jagdish, it's
Yeah.
me. Yeah, that is the one I lack.
Okay.
Because whenever we get confidence, no, if we are confident, means I feel that there is a 50% that chance that we have passed the interview.
Yeah.
Then 50% we can manage with the answers, because
Okay.
whenever I faced the interview, that was the main reason I lacked.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sadly, very few people selected know all the questions. But whoever selected, can you please tell me what was the reason behind selecting this option?
I did.
Yep.
Yeah, I selected that because I have so much weird, disparate knowledge because I've done so many things in my education and in my working life. So, like, I've got a history background, I've got a background in waitressing, I've got backgrounds in tech support. Like, I've done a lot of stuff over the course of my life, and it's not that I've forgotten any of it, but with some subjects, it's buried under years and years of kind of side quests. So if I know what the answers are, I know which things I need to bring back up to the kind of front of my psyche. It's like, I'm pretty confident already. I'm pretty personable. I don't want to read someone's mind because that interferes with their autonomy in ways that I don't want to deal with. So if I knew the questions and I knew what I was supposed to be reviewing ahead of time, that'll be the best thing for me.
So you would prepare if you know all the questions, and then
Yeah,
go to
exactly. Because there's, like you said, finding things in your past that are
Yeah.
relevant and explaining why. Like that's, that takes mental energy and all.
Yeah.
Even think
yeah.
like the question you asked about what's your most challenging interview question, I was thinking, oh God, I can't remember the last time I had to answer a question like that because I haven't had a job interview in years and years of my life. So, and if I think about it long enough, I'm sure I could dig something up, but it's
Yeah,
hard to do that
makes perfect
in
sense,
real time.
especially when you have different kinds of experiences or more number of years of experiences. In that sense, it's good to know the questions in advance so that you can go very well prepared.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
yeah, you don't have to dig into entire a decade of years of experience into different fields.
Yeah, I mean, it's like studying for a test, really.
Yeah. Okay, who else
Okay.
wants to share their opinion why they selected this option?
I selected because in German interview, I have a problem preparing to answering the questions. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, more or less same. It's good to know the answers so that you can prepare. Right. Okay. Instant Rapo. Who selected? Should we skip this instant Rapo?
I selected it.
Yeah. Yes, Shailaja.
So what I think is other three answers might or might not land you a job. But
Okay.
this approach will build a bond between the interviewer and yourself. So
Yeah.
will let you win the interview, or if not, you will land to a next reference or next interview. Is my thinking
That's
behind it.
that's really very good point, and I can't disagree with you. Yes. So, and there are some in Sweden, especially, there are some interviews called team meeting. In the team meeting, this is something plays a major role. The way you talk to teammates and the rapport and everything that plays. And then team meetings are mostly, not all companies do that, but some companies do it as an extra round of interview to check the rapport, how you mingle with the team. And yeah, mostly they select you for the next round. So in these four options, there is only one thing that is not under our control, or we can't learn. Maybe I don't know if there are any people here who can learn mind reading. Keep that skill with you. Don't teach anyone because I don't think it is of any useful skill. But these things are super useful, and you can practice and learn. These are not hypothetical. Gaining the confidence and knowing the questions also you can know up to some extent, but think of the preparation part. You can always go prepared by expecting certain questions. And how you can do that? You read the job description. That's it. You read the job description again and again and again, and you do research about the company, and you can guess some questions. And also based on your profile, also you can guess some questions. For example, if you are changing from one field to another field, you may get a question why you switched the field. So now you know the question that already. And also, let's say you have a career break. You have 2 years of career break, 3 years of career break. It doesn't matter why you have career break. You might have kids, or you traveled, or you relocated, or you are taking a break, just like that. It doesn't matter. But if you think that someone is going to ask you that question, now you know the question already. So now you can prepare. So this is where I want to make one very strong point. Every question is an opportunity to sell yourself. You have only one job in the entire interview process, that is to convince the recruiter that you are the best fit for this job. If you don't sound confident, if you are in doubt, if you hesitate, if you think, I'm junior, I'm learning, maybe I need some help to do this work, if your tone is like this, all you get is a rejection email the next day or the after. But if you sound confident, then you convince them that you are the best fit for this candidate. The job is yours. And that is the only job you have in the entire interview process. And if you know that this question is going to come in advance, then you must go prepared. You must go prepared very well to that question, whatever you think it is coming. Confidence also you can practice. You can practice by doing the same trick I mentioned. Do a lot of mock interviews, your friends or partners or fellow job seekers or etc. And instant rap also you can practice, but not everyone can be good at networking and building a rapport at the first time itself. But a lot of people can do it by going to networking events, introducing themselves, preparing a short pitch or elevator pitch about yourself, etc., etc. So you can do that. You can do all these three with practice and get better at it, which will improve your chances of getting selected greatly. This is something unfortunately not in our under control. Yeah, if you can learn this skill, yes, please do so. Okay, now how familiar are you with the STAR method? Never heard of it. Good. I've read about it but never used it. I've tried using it but need improvement. I used it confidently in interviews. So far, I have conducted countless webinars on this topic, facing interviews, but hardly 1 or 2 people actually used STAR approach in any questions that I asked. Just a few minutes ago, I asked a question, how do you handle conflict with your coworker? And I said, none of you will be selected. Why I said that? Because none of you used STAR approach. Is it mandatory to use STAR approach? I don't say it is mandatory, but STAR provides you a structure when you answer a question, a behavioral interview question specifically. Then if you don't use that, you are just sharing your opinion, or you are giving some hypothetical situation and then answering something. Raj, we will take the questions at the end. Otherwise, we will end up discussing a lot. And we have only 20 more questions to discuss, and we will also finish very fast. So STAR method must be used for all behavioral interview questions. You can also use STAR method for a lot of situational based technical questions as well. In an interview, use STAR approach as much as possible. In coming slides, we will dig deeper into what is STAR method. But I have hardly seen people using STAR method. I'm not sure if in the breakout rooms anyone used STAR approach. Now you can find out that if someone used STAR approach. Okay, how do you handle an unexpected question in interview? Pause and think, answer honestly, or ask for clarification, go blank. This is the common reaction for most of the people. Again, in my personal experience of mentoring people, taking mock interviews, or taking real interviews as well in the companies. I worked as a hiring manager for most of the companies I worked. In my first company, I worked for almost 7.5 years. I recruited so many people. In all the other companies after that I worked, I was part of recruitment team at least 2 or 3 times. So most of the people go blank when they get an unexpected question. Very few people pause, think, and then answer the question. So this is the best you can do for any unexpected question. Do not get tempted to answer the question instantly. Okay, there is avoid that compulsion. There is no requirement that you must answer as soon as the question is finished. Okay, drop that. whenever you get an unexpected question, take time, think, and then start the answer. It's completely okay to do that. Yes, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. This is the correct abbreviation of STAR, STAR. Yes. So you must start your answer with a situation first, and the task in your hand, and the action you took, and finally what was the outcome. This is how you structure the answer. And you should not say that, I will do like this, I will do like that. So that is, hypothetical. Or you can't say, I will ask for fika, or I will report to manager, or I will not care, I will mind my business. So these answers are not, I'm not saying right or wrong answer, but this is not the correct approach towards a behavioral interview question. And also you can't dodge the question by saying, I never had a conflict at work, I'm always good with all the, etc., etc. And we'll also talk about, the tone and how to construct your situation and how not to construct your situation and task. Yes. Yeah, when someone asks you about, explain a situation when you had to deal with a difficult customer, you can't simply say, I had a difficult customer, I helped him and the problem solved. I once solved a big problem at work. So you can't make generalized statements. You can't also make, self-certifying statements about yourself. Like, I'm a hard worker, I'm a good person, I'm a honest person, I'm a committed person. All these things are, giving yourself, self-certification. That will not work. You must explain. You must say it without saying it. You must say it with the example of a situation that you handled. Yeah, so this is one good example. Like, I mean, there is not enough space, so I have put it very short, but you can elaborate it. A customer was upset about a delay. I calmed them down, explained the issue, and offered a discount. They left a positive review. So you can elaborate the action a little bit more also. The STAR method is only for technical questions. No, STAR method can be used for almost all questions. There will be few questions which we will discuss. You can't use STAR approach, but I strongly recommend use STAR approach as much as possible. This will be a game changer for your interview experience. In an interview, when is the best time to use STAR method? When asked behavioral interview question, obviously for behavioral interview questions, but for self-introduction, you can't use STAR approach. You can use for technical questions, but not only for technical questions. What should be the source of, yeah, right. So now let's discuss about constructing a STAR approach. Let's take the example of how do you handle conflict. So when I ask you a question as an interviewer, how do you handle conflict? I said, you have to bring up a situation from your work and then explain it. Okay, when I was working at XYZ company as a XYZ role, and I had a task of managing a team of 10 people. And then, so you had a different process in your mind, but your manager was proposing another process. So you don't have to make it like a fight between two people whenever someone says a conflict. Okay, stop thinking from that point of view. You can raise a conflict in terms of tools, processes. They want to use one tool, you wanted to use another tool. They want to use one process, you want to use another process. It can also be a conflict. Conflict is not always a fight between two individuals. Okay, I strongly recommend avoiding such examples because you open a Pandora's box and there is no control over how other person perceives your answer. So let's say you can construct like this. I was working at XYZ company, XYZ role, and the task was to manage 10 people, and I wanted to follow one process. My manager wanted to use me a different process. That was the conflict. Now you explain the action that you took to convince your manager and your team, etc., etc. So your situation should be little around 10%, task should be around 10%. So the ground is set. Now the action should be around 70 to 80%. So you have to cover, or 60%. Then the outcome. So you have done something, and then the outcome was that your manager accepted or the team was happy with the process you proposed. Maybe the action could be you listed out the pros and cons of each process and the time consuming, the costs incurred, etc., the tools involved, everything. And then the outcome is positive, everyone accepted, and you could finish the project that you have with the team in time, client appreciation, revenue generation, sales increase, leads increase. It can be any positive outcome. So you can mention that. That's how you should structure. But now let's say you don't have the work experience. From where should you construct the answer? Or for all behavioral interview questions, is it possible to construct a star-based answer using your experience? Is it possible? And how to bring all the, or is it possible to have a star answer from my relevant experience or past experience for all? So that is the challenging part that everyone asks me every time I propose use star approach. So this is the answer. So you have multiple places to bring your star answer for any behavioral interview question. Strongly recommend first bring from a relevant professional experience. Let's say you're applying for a sales role, bring a star answer from sales related experience. Let's say you don't have relevant experience, then go with your previous experience, any experience, professional experience. Let's say you don't have a professional experience, you're a student, just passed out. Or even if you have work experience, you could not, for a particular behavioral interview question, you could not bring a star answer because you have not experienced such situation. Then go to your academic experiences. You don't have answer there. You go to any voluntary contributions, community contributions, any activities that you did outside of work. You bring from there. If you don't have from there also, as a last option, you can go to your personal life and you can bring some situation, how you handled it, and answer it for star approach. But I recommend using personal life examples only purely for behavioral interview questions. Most of the technical situational based questions use answers from professional and academic related experiences. For other typical behavioral interview questions, you can go to voluntary and personal life only if you can't find answers from professional and academic experiences. So these are your sources to construct answers. And if you don't have answers from any of these areas, create one. Okay, use your imagination or creativity and find the closest experience, but never dodge a question. Let's go to next. Why is the star approach important in interviews? Because it helps you to structure your answers, it improves your storytelling skills, and also it improves the relevancy to the job that you are applying. What's the best way to become perfect at using star method? Yeah, practice, practice, practice. Practice the mock interviews a lot. And before practicing verbally or vocally, write down all your answers. Take a pen and paper and write down the questions. I will also share you some material today. Write down your questions and then write down the answers and then practice individually. Say it in front of the mirror, record yourself, and then also find someone and then practice with them. Ask them to ask the questions and give the answers.
Sorry, may I have a question?
And which of the following is not a good source of creating your star response? Yeah, don't find answers from ChatGPT or Gemini or internet, or don't Google for answers for behavioral interview questions and situational based technical questions. You prepare them. You prepare them on your own. What is the main purpose of STAR method? Yeah, so to structure the behavioral interview questions or any situational based questions. STAR method is used for all kinds of questions, actually. What is a common mistake when using STAR method interviews? Yeah, so don't skip any part. Everything must be there, but not too much about situation and task and result. You have to mainly focus on the action, but that doesn't mean that you will use action alone. You will use situation around 10-15%, task 10-15%, or 10% is enough, and then action major part, and then finally around 10% or 15% result. And you should not skip any. Using star method makes interview answers sound too scripted. Yeah. So yes, 8 people said yes, and 20 people said no. In the beginning, and 5 people said maybe. In the beginning, it will definitely sound like scripted. That's because you are trying to memorize your answer and then give the answer. But the more you practice, it will come naturally. So that's why, let me see if I can show that to you. Yeah. So you need to develop a skill to naturally answer any behavioral interview question using STAR approach. That is the goal. The goal is not to write down some answers and practice them, by heart them, and then repeat them in the interview. That is not the goal. The goal is to develop a natural ability of answering behavioral interview questions, situational based questions using STAR approach. So how you can do that? You can see there are some sections: adaptability and flexibility, teamwork and collaboration, communication and persuasion, problem solving and decision making, project management and organization, personal attributes and self-reflection, career goals and motivation. These are the main sections. So you can think of them as the categories, and in each category you will have some 5 to 6 questions. And those questions you need to practice. You need to write answers and practice. And the more you practice, any question that comes under this category of adaptability and flexibility, you will be able to naturally answer. It may not be the same question that you prepared, but it will definitely fall under this category. Same with communication and persuasion. May not be the same question you prepared, but it will come under this category and you will be able to answer. So I will share this with you at the end of this session. You can practice your answers. The instructions are also given how to practice and what kind of steps to use. So the more you practice, the better you get at it, and then it will start sounding very natural. Once again, I repeat, you develop the natural ability to answer behavioral interview questions using STAR approach. That is the goal, not just getting some questions and preparing answers and then using them as is. The STAR method is only useful for job interviews. Not necessarily. The STAR method is always useful even in the regular conversations. The more you use it, the better. Let's say if you're talking to someone and if they share something, you can also share, like, when I was going for a hike or trip somewhere, and this is exactly what happened. So you can use the structure. It is a very good way of telling a story. Yes, so this is another example question. You led a project that was falling behind schedule. How should you start your STAR approach? So this is just about starting the STAR approach. I was involved in a project that faced a deadline issue. So this is how you should start. Maybe you can also give a little bit more information about the company you are working and your designation as well. Using STAR, you should always conclude with a measurable result. Yes, there should be a measurable result, and the result should be positive. Always end with a positive note, never end with a negative note. Okay, here is some interesting questions. What was the toughest question you ever faced in an interview? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Deep technical questions. Explain the project about blockchain. Nice. Okay, by the way, any full stack developers here with the knowledge of blockchain, we have a project going on. It's not an employment, but you can contact me on LinkedIn separately. We can talk. Maybe see if you're a good fit for that role, and we can see if we can work together. Okay, can't recall. I can't remember. It's been too long. Okay, nice. Good for you. You have been less anxious for a very long time. Why should we hire you? Technical questions. Okay, there are some interesting questions. Yeah. So tell me about yourself and why should we choose you? Right. Yes. So yeah, this should have been at the end after we have practiced STAR approach a lot. Now we can start discussing in general about what you have learned. Before that, let me share one workbook with you. I wish we had more time to extend this session for 1 more hour so that we can also practice this. I will stop sharing and then share this link with you. Save this because after the Zoom meeting is over, you will not be able to access this link. And there is no way you can find the question. So this is your first workbook, which you can practice. And it also has instructions about, let me share the screen again. It also has instructions about how you can construct the answer, but there is no answer here. You have to construct the answer from your own personal experience. And then how you should practice, the instructions are also given here. Practice in front of mirror, record yourself, practice with a peer or friend, etc. This is gold mine. Unfortunately, you're getting it for free because a lot of people don't value things that are coming for free. But you will realize the value of this material when you practice. And I'm saying this from the personal experience of helping so many people get jobs. People who joined our training programs with 10 years of career break, 5 years of career break, completely from different backgrounds, like medical background, teaching background, or different kinds of background, and they managed to get the jobs because they intensely prepared this. But now we can't practice a lot, so we make people practice them intensely a lot, including the self introduction and these answers. So if you do it by yourself, you will get the same result. I don't see why you can't get the result, but a lot of people don't do it because they got it very easily. So keep that in mind. At least even if it helps one person, I'll be happy. And let me know if it helped you when you get the job. I will also share some more material. Where is the second workbook? Okay, let me share the second workbook as well. You should be able to access it without any problem. Let me know if you can't access. Okay, so there is second workbook. All you have to do is the same thing, prepare your answers. And I don't have more to discuss, but I will tell you one thing. We'll also talk about salary negotiation. So remind me if we are going to end without salary negotiation, because I think Madhu asked about that question at the beginning. So whenever we ask about this, how you resolve conflict, most of the people tend to talk about personal conflicts with co-workers or some others. Never do that. Okay. That doesn't mean that you never had a negative experience at a workplace. You might have had a negative experience, but the problem is, as we discussed at the beginning, interviews are very short. It can be 30 minutes or it can be just 1 hour. In that 1 hour, you don't have enough time to explain the full story. But when you present yourself as in a conflict with a person in a negative way, then you are giving hints that there might be a trouble in the future, or you never know how the other person is comprehending what you are explaining. There is no control over how the other person is imagining this whole situation because there is not enough time. You can't talk for 1 hour. You can't tell them the full story. So always avoid talking about negative experiences with people or with company in the interviews, mainly because of lack of time. Once you get the job, maybe during lunch or during coffee, you can explain them the whole story. Then they can judge. But during the interview, don't do that. You are taking a chance. So that is one strong recommendation I would like to give, because most of the people tend to start talking about some personal conflict with coworker or some fight. They bring up some fight or something like that. It is of no use. Again, I would like to remind the same point. Interview is an opportunity for you to sell yourself and convince the recruiter that you are the best fit. Stick to that context. Don't deviate from that context and start saying all the things that are not necessary for recruiter. Don't make it complicated for the recruiter. Make it easy for them. Tell them why they should hire you. Tell them why you are best fit for this role. Use all the situations, experiences, tools, technologies, or whatever it is, and justify that. Yep. So now we can start discussing about any other things.
Sorry, I have a question about how can we measure that our interview is going well, and how many interviews should we have done in order to get a job? You asked us that how many interviews have we done at the beginning of this session. I would know that how can we have a cycle of feedback or retraining or revising anymore, something like that? How can we improve it?
Okay, so ideally, you should be able to clear all the interviews that you attend. That is the ideal situation, because you have to be choosy when applying for the jobs. I'm not a big fan of going bananas on the job market and applying for every single job out there. You have to pick some jobs and then tailor your resume, cover letter, your profile, and prepare very well even before you got an interview opportunity. Learn about the company, read the job description again and again, and apply. Once you get that interview, that is exactly when you use all your preparation, and you should ideally get the job because you got the interview opportunity and there is no reason why they will not select you. That is where this preparation comes into place. All these behavioral interview questions and situational based questions. So how many interviews? I personally feel 2 to 3 interviews is maximum what you need to get a job. And after 2 to 3 interviews or 5 interviews, if you're not getting a job, then talk to someone in your field who managed to get a job, who were once in your position but now where you want to be, and take their feedback. Tell them how you're answering. Do more mock interviews, do with friends, but take feedback from only those who are in your field and who have a job. You can safely ignore feedback from the people who don't have jobs or who never worked in the field. You can still take, but I would say, be a little bit critical about their jobs. Yeah, Akshat.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, Amir. Akshat, I will share. Yes. Okay. One more thing. Someone asked, what was the answer you got for what makes you angry? What was the answer? Can anyone explain? So we reached the time. We will wrap up in 5 minutes. I will stay here for questions and answers after 5 minutes. I will still stay here for a few more minutes. But yeah, what was the answer for what makes you angry? Can anyone wants to give that answer? Anyone wants to give the answer to what makes you angry?
When I don't know what's the real solution or how can I solve the conflicts or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, when you don't know what's the solution. Okay, fine. Okay, Vidya, do you want to answer? What makes you angry, Vidya?
Yeah, if people are not collaborating with you properly, and
Okay.
Okay,
fine. People are not collaborating. Okay, who else wants to answer? Brina, you want to
Let
answer?
me try to answer this in a star format.
Okay, yeah, please.
So I had a situation when during one of the planning meetings, a lot of our team members started discussing about the work items that were not a part of our overall goals.
Okay.
So as a result of that, what happened was I felt a little bit frustrated, but then I started, checking myself and started, reminding them that that we are in, planning work now for 2 weeks, and it's important for us to kind of, adhere to the goals in terms of what we want to achieve and not our personal aspirations. Once I made that clear, then, I started seeing people started, planning things more in a more aligned way, in alignment with the goals. And that helped me to kind of, reduce my frustration. And we had a good planning on that. So
That's
the message is that when you are angry, you also need to check how emotional intelligent you are in order to control your angerness, because that's not something you are having in a personal level. It's with the team, and you need to deal with it by checking your emotions and then clarifying your intent.
nice. That's a very smart answer. Okay, Brina, you want to answer?
The thing that used to really make me angry in my last job was having sort of apathetic colleagues, or even worse, apathetic supervisors, because we supported medical technology. So if it was broken, like, it was very bad for, sick people. So that always drove me nuts. If they were more focused on things like metrics for ticket closures than they were with actually fixing the platform when it was broken.
Okay, nice. That's a very good answer. Okay, so thanks, Raj and Brina, and everyone else who answered in the breakout rooms about for these questions in a negative way. Remember this: you have no reason to be angry at workplace, because you are working for a company, and your coworkers are working for a company, your manager is working for a company, everyone is working for a company. You have no reason to be angry. Okay, when it say angry, you have no reason to be angry at workplace. So these are kind of tricky questions, or to trap you, to get your negative emotions, or where you can get pissed off. So then what should you do? Should you not say you are angry? Should you say that you will never get angry? Yes, you should. You have, as I said, you should never get angry at workplace in practice also. But let's say things happen, and then you always make it about the process or project or outcome of the company, or OKR of the company, OKR of the team or project. You always make it about it, not personal. A lot of people go personal. So people say that, I will get angry if someone steals my credit. I'll get angry if someone doesn't cooperate me. I'll get angry if I get more work. A lot of answers I have heard, but never make it personal. You have no reason to be angry. Also, don't dodge the question. Always make it about the company, or it's about mindset. What I'm trying to say. You have to change your mindset from personal to team oriented or company oriented and goal oriented. Then you will find similar situations that you have been like, you might have got angry because the project was not moving, the deadlines were keep on pushing at the end. It might be because of a tool, process, or project, or etc. And then always say what you did, just like how Raj explained. You always explain what you did, what action you took, and what was the outcome. Never make a generalized statements that I will get angry if this happens. No, then you are talking about yourself. And no one wants to work with people who get angry. Okay, so that is one thing I wanted to mention. And with that, there is nothing much to discuss today as far as star approach is concerned. You got two materials, and you will get one more material. To get you, if you want to get full material, then you have to join our upcoming webinars. In May, we will start full training workshops for a couple of weeks. Then you will get full material. But for now, these questions are more than enough for you to practice. And there will also be some questions what to ask at the company. As I said, I will stay here for 10 more minutes. You can ask questions and we can discuss. Yes, Raj, please ask.
Yeah, so I have a question which is more of I would say, a comment that I hear from various sources, that in Sweden, specifically, I'm talking about Sweden, that when a job is advertised in a social media, like in a social channel like, LinkedIn, there is always a decision that has been made for a preferred candidate. And because of the government regulations, you need to you need to advertise that post in the show in LinkedIn or any other platform to show, that you have you have an advertisement for that opportunity. Now, how true or how false it is, I'm not sure about it because I've heard it from various sources. I would like to get your perspectives on this because if this is something which is a fact, then how do we kind of understand this? Because applying for a job means investing a significant amount of efforts. You are tailoring your CV. You're creating a cover letter. You're trying to present the best version of yourself. And once you apply and you get a rejection email based on this particular ground, of course, the grounds are not mentioned, but if that is the case, how do you get the signals, even before you're applying?
Yeah, sure. So I actually conducted one session on the same topic, like the resume creation and why do we get rejected and all those reasons. It was also almost 2.5 to 3 hours session only on this subject. Maybe I'll conduct once again in the future. It's called creating a resume and ATS, etc., etc. So that's why I recommend everyone please follow me on LinkedIn. I only talk about this thing, like how to get a job. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less on LinkedIn. So to your question about the posting of jobs in Orbit's format, etc. So anyone who is hiring from outside of Sweden should post it. So basically, companies, whenever they post, what they do, they post in Orbit's format LinkedIn. So it is available for people in Sweden at least 10 days. That is the rule. That is the rule by Migrationsverket. The migration agency has set up that rule. The job must be available for people living in Sweden for at least 10 days. Then they check that rule. Otherwise, if during the visa processing or extension of the visa processing, if they see that this job was not posted on Orbit's format LinkedIn or publicly available platforms, then they will reject that visa. So it is mandatory to post. But there can be a situation where the candidate is already decided by the company, and just because it's a formality, they need to process, they need to post it, and they do it for the formality. They might not actually hire the people. They might have already candidates inside their company itself, but they need work permit extension, but they need to follow this migration agency rule. So they might never contact the candidates that applied for this job. That is the reality. So, but we can always give our try if we see a job application. And I agree that it's a significant amount of effort. But yeah, so there is nothing we can do. It is not in our control. Anything that happens from the employer's side, it can be rejection, it can be ghosting or anything. We don't have any control. So there is nothing we can do about it. What is in our control is trying until we get an interview and preparing the best for the interview. Hope I answered your question, Raj.
Yeah, I get that. And do you think that, this is a extension to my previous question. Do you think that this is a regular practice that is being followed, or
No,
is it a
no.
one-off case?
One of the cases, like not regular practice.
Okay.
A lot of companies who hire from abroad, they do also do this, and that job is automatically posted on Glassdoor and Euros portal and some other portals automatically, and they get the applications, and then they will actually call the candidates. That's how people come to Sweden from outside of Sweden. That is the way. So it is not the regular case. Okay, Riyadh, please tell me what's your question.
Hi, Jagadish. I want to tell you about my situation and want some suggestions from you.
Yeah.
So I've been looking for job in Sweden for the last 1 year, and I'm a software developer with 6 years of professional experience.
Yep.
And during this 1 year, I have applied to lots of jobs. At the beginning, I was not getting any interview calls. Then I updated my CV, cover letter, followed some tips and tricks, and then started getting some interview calls. Then again, I prepared for the interview. I also did workshop with you and worked on my star-based behavioral questions. And yeah, I was then started to pass the HR rounds.
Nice.
And I did many interviews so far. I did interviews for I guess 10 to 12 companies here in Sweden, and there are startups and also some bigger corporations. But one thing is that I have even passed some 3 to 4 rounds in
Okay.
bigger companies, and I have also went to the last round where they have introduced me with their teammates
Yep.
and where I will be working with. But then suddenly everything is blank. Like
Okay.
the HR said that they will discuss the final discussion with me about
Okay.
salary and they will offer me, but I don't get any updates.
Okay.
I send them like two follow-up mails after 2 weeks each. Still no update. Then after 1 month, they said that either they were saying the hiring is frozen, we are not
Mm-hmm.
hiring anymore, and the portal is closed for the
Okay.
jobs, or either they send me a regret mail that you were
Okay.
not selected. So
Okay.
at this stage, I'm really confused that what I'm doing wrong, because I passed all the technical test, all the HR rounds, and I was also in the last rounds. So I'm not sure what is my lackings here.
Okay, so
Or
I
yeah.
can say one thing that there is nothing lacking, because if you reach to a final round where almost you got the offer, so you are doing everything right. Okay, and when someone says there is hiring freeze, it's true. They are not lying. In Sweden, it is a common thing that they do hiring freeze because of some internal changes or budget allocations, etc. It's a common practice. And for the past 2.5, 3 years, the job market has been crazy. There have been a lot of layoffs. Every company is doing multiple rounds of layoffs. They have done 2 years ago, 1 year ago, again they're doing, and the layoffs are going to be more because of AI and other stuff. It will not stop. Maybe we don't know the job market when it will become stable. At least it is not stable right now. That's why it is the best time to prepare yourself, practice yourself, polish your skills, etc. This is the best time to be prepared. So that's what you can do in the worst times. So I don't see, because I think as far as I remember the way you participated in the sessions also, there is nothing much you need to do. I would say if you believe God, pray more and then wait for the right time. That's what I would say. There is nothing much we can do. All these things. Yeah.
Hi, Jagadish. I also want to say that hi. So, am I falling behind because I don't know
Yeah, that's
Swedish
a
language,
whole different
or
story
I'm from another
altogether.
country, don't have
I
experience?
just made one post 2 days ago, not 2 days ago, I think yesterday, about Swedish language. Just go to my profile and scroll through just a little bit, and you will see a post, my LinkedIn post about Swedish language. So we don't have time. Unfortunately, I need to also leave. So I can't take more questions. I will take a couple of questions from the chat, and then we will end the session. There is one question from Narayanan. Are there seasons of hiring in Sweden? Is there a chance of getting an interview only on the basis of that? You are applying online without internal references. Can we get interviews at least without references during the interview? Do they ask about residence permit, work permit, sponsorship? How to handle it? Narayanan, are you applying from outside of Sweden? Are you here in the meeting? Okay, if you're not hearing, then
Here, I'm here in Gothenburg.
oh, you're in Gothenburg. Okay, okay, fine. Then see, I mean, uh, there are seasons for sure, but that doesn't mean that in the other seasons the hiring is completely frozen. Obviously, during summer months like June, July, August, the hiring is slow, but still companies do hire. So I don't see any reason for a job seeker to not to apply for a job any given day, as long as you get the job. And as we are mainly talking about interview, I did not cover a lot of other topics, but one of the things that I constantly tell job seekers is, in Sweden or in European countries, in Western countries, you can't be a occasional job seeker. You can't afford to be a job seeker whenever you are in a mood. You can't wake up one weekend and say that, okay, today I will apply for 100 jobs and then go to sleep mode. That occasional job seeking will not work. So whether it's a season or not, you have to look for a job every single day. When you wake up, the first thing and the last thing you need to do is to apply for the job. And someone else also asked which portals are there. It is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best. Then you can go to Plants Banking or Orbis for LinkedIn or Glassdoor or other portals. But there are no jobs that are not there on LinkedIn but elsewhere. So LinkedIn is your best bet always. So every single day apply for jobs on LinkedIn and apply selectively initially. And if there are very less opportunities in your field, and go to relevant fields, but always choose carefully. Modify your resume and cover letter time to time. So as I said, June, July, August, it will be slow, and also during Christmas and New Year period, it will be slow. Otherwise, the rest of the periods, active recruitment happens. But as a job seeker, you must look for a job every single day. Occasional job seeking will not work in Sweden. I know so many people who do occasional job seeking. I know them since 5 6 years. They never got job, and I don't think they will get job in next 5 6 years also, because they are not serious. They are not doing regularly. And one more, you asked about references also. No, not necessarily you must have references. I know personally so many people who got jobs with zero references. Also in Sweden, people say that you do networking, and I strongly recommend doing networking. We also conduct a dedicated session about networking, how to do networking. Networking is not equal to asking for a job. Networking is networking. Networking is a long-term investment. You can also do networking while seeking for the job. Networking pays you well, but I know people who got job even without any networking, zero networking. I got my first job, permanent employment, to Sweden through networking. After that, I changed a couple of jobs, but I did not do any networking. I went through the traditional process of applying through LinkedIn and finding it. So both works. And as a job seeker, you should take all your chances. Yep. Yes. Okay. So unfortunately, we have to end. I wish I could take more questions and give more answers, but we will meet in future events, future sessions. Thanks everyone for patiently staying for almost 2.5 hours. Have a lovely long weekend as we have holiday today. See you all in some other session. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Jagdish.
so much.